to Matchday Live here on Fox's Hub with me, Dan Bates, on a day that Leicester City can go back top of the Championship with a victory this afternoon. I've got Matty Fright here in the studio with me and Ewan Roberts as well, who's joined us via Zoom. Before we talk to both of those, let's get all of today's team news for this early 12 o'clock kickoff on this Sunday afternoon. Right, Enzo Maresca made 10 changes in midweek for that Carabao Cup tie at Anfield, so it's easier to compare today's side to the one that beat Bristol City at King Power Stadium a week ago, and the only change to that 11 is forced. The injured Callum Doyle drops out and he's replaced by James Justin. It's a spot on the bench as well for both Harry Souttar and Conor Coady, who impressed in their first appearances of the season against Liverpool. Here's the 11 then. It's Mads Hermansen in goal, Justin Vestergaard, Fass and Ricardo across the back four. Ndidi, Dewsbury Hall and Winks. We've become so accustomed to those three, haven't we, this season in midfield, with Mavididi and Fatawu either side of Jamie Vardy. On the bench, it's Jakub Stolacic, Conor Coady, Cassidy, Iheanacho, Souttar, Chowdhury, Daka, Yunus and Casey McAteer, of course, the top scorer for the Foxes in all competitions. Today's hosts, Blackburn, have had a strange start to the season. Only 4 teams have conceded more than Rovers in the league this season, but they've scored 8 goals in their last 2 games, including putting 5 past Cardiff in the week. John Dal Thomason makes 1 change to the side that lost 4-3 a week ago to Ipswich, as Dylan Markanday comes in for Harry Leonard up top. Here's the 11 for Blackburn then in full. It's pairs in goal, Pickering, Hyam, Carter and Britton across the back four, with Wharton and Travis in midfield, Sigurdsson, Smodics and Moran in behind that man Dylan Markanday. Well, we've already introduced both Matty Fright and Ewan Roberts. It's fantastic to have you both with us as ever, 2 former strikers at this football club. Matty, obviously you were with us in midweek as well for the game with Liverpool. We've seen a number of changes again from Enzo Maresca, and it really shows the strength of this squad.
It does. Obviously a lot of changes from Wednesday evening, but I think the performance last weekend against Bristol was an Enzo Maresca type performance in terms of the control. So there's obviously the one change with Callum Doyle, unfortunate about his injury, but James Justin can more than capable to step up and play. So I think it's about that consistency. Casey McAteer might feel hard done by in terms of he's been in excellent scoring form. But other than that, it's changes I'd expect and a strong 11, and it just also shows the strength and depth of the squad.
And good afternoon, of course, as well, or good morning rather, to Ewan Roberts, who joins us via Zoom. Busy weekend, Ewan, watching the golf, been working?
Yeah, I was at the new den yesterday. Not that it's that new anymore. Took me 2.5 hours to get out of London. The traffic was horrendous because of the rail strikes. So watched a bit of the golf yesterday. We'll be watching the end of it after today's game, hopefully celebrating Leicester keeping their 100% away record done.
You think they will, Ewan?
I think they've got a great chance. I mean, I was at Ewood Park on Tuesday night. Not that you can read too much into it. I mean, John Dal Thomason, he made 8 changes to the side that lost 4-3 at Portman Road last weekend. They look good going forward, I have to say. They've got pace in wide areas. They haven't got an out-and-out centre-forward playing today. Markanday, he sort of played on the right-hand side, with Moran playing as a number 10. But yeah, I think, they'll score goals. I mean, they've scored 17 goals in the last 3 EFL Cup ties. As you say, the 5 against Cardiff, they've scored 8 against Harrogate. So they have got a very much of an attacking threat. But as you sort of pointed out as well, then defensively, they're not great. And I just look at the last 2 away performances from the Foxes, that fantastic 4-1 win at St Mary's. I think they were 2 proper statement performances. Then coming to Carabao Road, winning that one comfortably, not really getting out of 3rd gear, in all honesty. And in both games, Enzo made 5 changes, as Matty alluded to there, just sort of shows the strength in depth that Leicester have got. And a win today, and it takes you 2 points in front of Ipswich, 4 points in front of Preston, who we play on Wednesday night. Could be a big weekend.
Yeah, let's hope you're right, Ewan. We'll continue to preview the game, which kicks off in just under an hour here on Matchday Live on Fox's Hub. As well as that, we'll talk more about the Leicester City team news, in particular, obviously, Casey McAteer not in the starting 11 again. We'll look back on Wednesday evening's defeat at Liverpool. We'll hear from Enzo Maresca. As ever, he's been speaking to the press ahead of the game. And we'll also take a closer look at John Dahl Tomasson's Blackburn Rovers, as well. As Ewan Roberts has rightly said, they've been free scoring in some games, but also very leaky at the back as well. Hopefully Leicester can take advantage of that today. And as Ewan rightly said, Matty, that the last couple of away games to really look at, 6 goals away at Southampton and away at Norwich. Very, very impressive. They'll be hoping for something similar today. Yeah,
I think so. Especially on the eye of the Southampton performance. They just overran Southampton from start to finish, and I think looking up against the Blackburn team, I think they can apply that again. I think Enzo wants a bit more control, as if it were against Norwich, but I think if Leicester really get at Blackburn today, I think they can overrun the midfield. In terms of the wide areas, the boys will be a real threat for both of the Rovers fullbacks and stretch it. And the goals that Blackburn have conceded, they've been pretty loose in terms of mistakes, but there's that gap in between midfield and defence where I think Leicester can exploit, whether it's Mavididi turning and getting at the defence, or Dewsbury Hall breaking forward, or what we've seen in recent games, Wilfred Ndidi. But they seem to struggle with that area in between. So I think that's an area where Leicester can highlight that and expose it. But again, I think if you really go at Blackburn, I think they're there to be beat. But I know in particular Enzo likes that control and dictation of the play. So it might be a little bit more patient, but I would like to see today Leicester really get at Blackburn and sort of go at them.
And you could say that Leicester's strength really is out wide, the options that they've got in those positions. You look at Eunice on the bench, got an assist at Anfield in midweek. Casey McAteer on the bench, top scorer this season, got a goal in midweek as well.
Yeah, obviously 2 good options. There's an assist, there's a goal. The form that Casey McAteer finds himself in gives that energy, played well. Obviously got an eye for a goal, really composed in his finishing. But I think the 2 wide players in particular, they've got that explosiveness, the dynamic. They can beat a player either inside or out. And I think coming up against the opponents they find themselves today, they struggle at that. Pickering's not the quickest, so you think Fatawu will have joy with that. Vardy stretching the play in behind. Obviously, you'll have midfield runners, but Blackburn struggle with them elements of the game. And then when the space is in between, then can you find them passes? So it's the control of Winks to then play one through, but initially getting stretched, which the 2 wide players offer more so than perhaps McAteer and Eunice do.
Well, both these teams go into the game this afternoon after differing results in midweek in the Carabao Cup. As we've already referenced, Blackburn hit 5 against Cardiff in midweek, whereas Leicester bowed out to Liverpool, but they did play very, very well. Here's the best bits from that game on Wednesday evening.
Leicester's top scorer has delivered another goal inside the first 2 minutes. Had to react quickly there, not sure if that was caught in the wind, but he came and he punched it clear. And the ball has broken to Eunice, coming over the halfway line. For a moment it was 2 against 2 as Eunice slides the ball brilliantly to Casey McAteer. Leicester's top scorer has delivered another goal inside the first 2 minutes of this game at the Kop end of the ground. Eunice keeping his cool and sliding the ball into the penalty area. Tsimikas out swinging corner, came all the way through to Quanta, got a touch on it, the follow-up smashed off the post from Harvey Elliott. In fact, Doki was with the shot, now it's Elliott. 2 let-offs in quick succession for Leicester. Everyone else gathering in the penalty box. Tsimikas floating it to the far post, downward header off the line, Connor Cody. Well, that goes down as a super save from the debutant, and he's congratulated by his teammates, saw the danger, got himself in position. It was Cody Gakpo with the downward header. He was left free on the far post, and he cannot believe he's not scored. To Endo, and it's Gravenberch, checks it onto his left foot, edge of the box, into Cody Gakpo, looking for offside! Not given. Gakpo turns and slots the ball into the bottom corner. And just as quick as Leicester scored in the first half, Liverpool scored just as quick in the second, with a very neat turn and finish from Cody Gakpo. By Wilfred Ndidi, but it comes forward against the Bosley in space, heads to the box. There's a shot, there's a goal. Thumped into the top left-hand corner. And the game has turned around from a Leicester lead to a Liverpool lead. It's the substitute, the summer recruit, who slammed home for Liverpool an unstoppable shot into the top left corner of the goal. And then James Justin is shrugged aside by Quanta, who's into the box right side. Oh, that is really nice from Diogo Jota, who continues his goal-scoring touch against Leicester City.
Yeah, 3-1 it finished then in midweek in the Carabao Cup, which means Leicester are out of that competition. But Ewan Roberts, they'll take a lot of heart, won't they, from that performance at Anfield?
Oh, absolutely. When you think so many changes, but it was still a strong starting 11. Scored a really good goal on the counter-attack, very well taken from Casey McAteer. I mean, when Liverpool away in whatever competition, be it the league, be it the FA Cup, be it the League Cup, it's always a tough ask, and it was the big guns that came on and made the difference for them in the end. I mean, a cup run, as good as it is to get one, we spoke about it Monday, Dan, it's not the priority this season, let's be honest. This season is all about one thing, that's getting back to the Premier League where the football club belongs. It was a great night for Leicester under the lights at Anfield. We've found it hard to go there in the past few years. Haven't won since 2002, I think, or something like that at Anfield. So it was always going to be a tough task. There was no disgrace. There were some good performances. It was great to see Conor Cody starting for the club for the first time. That outstanding goal line clearance. I say a very, very good goal. But Liverpool's quality off the bench in the end was the difference. But absolutely no disgrace going up there and losing in the manner that they did.
Do you agree, Matty?
Yeah, totally. I think you have to admire there's plenty of positives. Obviously, Conor Cody's debut. Harry Souttar comes back in, who hasn't looked as if he's been in favour, performed well. Hamza Chowdhury, when he's filled in, he's either been at left back or right back or that inverted role. In fact, he was just in that defensive midfield role specifically, and he performed so well, breaking up play, composed on the ball as well. And then another academy graduate, Casey McAteer, goes and get a goal at Anfield. His confidence is sky high at the minute, but there's plenty of positives in that. And I think if it really meant so much to Enzo and the team, I think the second half they may have not, which you've got to admire, kept on playing out as much. And Liverpool did have to make changes and up the level. But I think if it meant, like Ewan touched on, the priority is the league. But they were 1-0 up, and then after half-time, you'd think maybe they may turn them more. But instead, they kept on sticking to the principles, wanting to play. And that shows that they've got a lot of confidence and brave to do that. But at the same time, if it was a league game, I don't think they'd draw everyone in. And maybe you might not have the personnel to stretch it a little bit longer from goal kicks, but they kept on sticking to the beliefs. And sometimes it just went against Leicester, especially in the second half. But it was only because you've had to admire the beliefs of the manager to do that.
And even making 10 changes, it doesn't matter to Enzo Maresca. They still play the same way.
No, it was more about the performance. I think he was looking, even at half-time, I think he would be still saying, can we play? Can we keep the ball? And at times it was, what can I call it, butt clenching, because it was that nervy in terms of trying to play out, and Liverpool had loads of players advanced and sort of condensed the play, and Leicester couldn't get as much control as they wanted. But the principles were, can we keep on playing? Even at 1-0 up, you'd think, can you hold on to the lead that you've got? Instead it was, can we keep on playing? In the end, the quality came through, an unbelievable side, but plenty of positives, and you've got to admire the way Leicester approached the game.
If they could have maybe held on a little bit longer at the start of the second half, and even to maybe 60 minutes, Liverpool may have started to not necessarily panic, but they looked pretty assured once they got that early second half goal.
Yeah, I mean, as you know, Dan, I don't think it's any secret. I'm a Liverpool fan. I have been since an early age, and Liverpool are so good when they're attacking the top end. They have been for years and years and years. With the quality that they have, I mean, I was slightly surprised when I saw the team news that Jurgen Klopp had got as strong as what he had done. I think that showed the respect that he has for Enzo and Leicester City. I think he could have maybe given an opportunity to a few more young, promising youngsters that they've got coming through at Liverpool. But, it shows how seriously He's taken the competition. And it is once they scored that early goal in the second half, you just got the feeling, the complete momentum shift in the game. Liverpool attacking that famous Kop end, and it was always going to be a tough one in the end. But there was no disgrace whatsoever in going to Liverpool and losing 3-1 with the squad that they've got there. Leicester gave a really good account of themselves, especially in that first half. A lot of positives to take from the game. Now you can fully focus for the next 3 months until the FA Cup third round in January. Fully concentrate on the most important thing, and that's winning league games.
Took it really well, didn't he, Casey McAteer, this goal?
Yeah, brilliant finish. Lovely pass, weighted pass by Eunice. And then the composure, just beyond his years. Just have a little look, that little moment before. Yeah, really good in terms of just assessing it. And then he could have played it either side. Instead, it's a lovely, precise finish in the corner. And can't believe it. 2-minute start away, Anfield, thinking got to get into the game, and he's finished really well.
On the sofa in midweek, we had LCFC women manager Willie Kirk with us. He was a fantastic guest, obviously talking through the start of their season. They face Bristol City away from home this afternoon in their WSL opener, and in the week he sat down with one of their star players, Sam Tierney, to talk about a whole range of issues in terms of last season, what their hopes are for this season, as well as previewing that opening day today.
Bristol City away, you must be buzzing and ready to get started and build on last season's achievements now.
Yeah, I think definitely. I think obviously, everyone says the same thing, don't they, at the end of pre-season? But, we've had, I'd probably say, the right amount of games in pre-season to get us into that, competitive mindset and sort of focus on the results, but obviously the performance and how we built that. But it's very different when you get into the league, obviously. There's all the spectacle around it, obviously, the growth of the women's game as well. So the Super League, everyone will be all eyes on these games. But I think just in terms of Bristol, obviously they did incredibly well in a tough league now in the Championship to come up. And I think, they had some great results there. But I think what they're going to sort of have at the weekend is, if I look back to when I got promoted with Leicester, is, that excitement in terms of being in that league. It's a league that everyone says they want to be in. And I think it'll go one or two ways for them. I think, there's either the excitement or, you put pressure on yourselves. But because I think it's early doors, I think, being at home for them, Ashton Gate, I'm sure they'll get a lot of supporters there. So in terms of our perspective, we think we've just got to be very mature in our performance and aware of them factors, but hopefully try and implement what we've done and sort of show them how this league is for us.
I think a real potential strength for us is tapping into that, what you just said. So 2 years ago you were in this position, so yourself, Shannon, I mean there's not that many others, but in terms of you know what it feels like, first game of the season, excitement in the WSL, is it excitement, is it nervousness, do you think you can compete at that level? Is some people got a little bit of imposter syndrome because they're not sure if they belong in the WSL? So we can probably tap into the players that were in that position 2 years ago by Leicester strip on and just try and get a feeling for what that Bristol changing room might be like.
Mm-hmm. You talked earlier, Sam, about obviously all the eyes on the WSL. We know that the last few seasons have been mainly about survival, but in what is probably the biggest league in women's football, can you just give us an insight into what it takes not only to survive, but to hopefully thrive in this league?
So I think I would probably say it's different for everyone. So the way I sort of deal with these things is maybe a little bit different. So I try not to read into too much of the spectacle that's around it, the noise. So I'll try not to read all the social media stuff too much, because I think that can often contribute to them feelings you might get in terms of pressure and things like that. But in terms of how you deal with the league, is we've spoke about inwardly, is just we have to be professional but humble in what we do. And I think going into, Willie spoke about there'll be games where we can hopefully go in as the favourites, but how we manage that. But ultimately just knowing that it's a league that anything can happen week to week. So staying in games, getting the points that, we've got targets for that we hold close to us, and turning performances into results is massive, because I think as Willie spoke about earlier, we don't want to be getting into a position like last Christmas, where we're looking at having to move mountains essentially, and obviously we have the experience of doing that, but we don't want to be in that position to do it. So being professional but finding ways to get results, I think is a massive thing. You know, I think in pre-season I spoke about some of the games we've had where we've maybe not had the best performance, but you spoke about the way we've managed to find results. And I think as much as I, as a player, as a perfectionist, would like every game to look great, ultimately 3 points is what we need to be getting, isn't it?
That was LCFC women and player manager Willie Kirk and Sam Tierney there, speaking ahead of their WSL opener this weekend. You can watch that full feature on Fox's Hub. There's plenty more for you as well on the website that you can watch and sink your teeth into. That is a really good feature, by the way, with both Willie and Sam. There's also a feature with Sammy Braybuck and Will Alves on their road to recovery, both suffering horrendous ACL injuries at the start of the year. Kieran Dewsbury Hall, we took him to his former club, Shepshed Dynamo, to speak about coming through as a young player there and the academy here at Leicester. Classic Comms with Kelechi Iheanacho and Ricardo Pereira is well worth a watch, as well as the latest episode of Leicester's The Place. Matt Elliott and Jerry Taggart speaking to their former manager, Martin O'Neill. That is a fantastic watch, by the way. You can also listen to it wherever you get your podcasts as well. Ewan Roberts, obviously, small amount of time spent with Martin O'Neill, wasn't it really for you? And Matt and Jerry both say to him during that, are we allowed to call you Martin yet? He's still very much got that scary manager feel about him.
Honestly, I've never worked under a manager who had the sense of humour that Martin had. I mean, I'll tell you a quick story about when he was the manager down here at Norwich. We had a player called Mike Milligan who played in midfield. And I think we'd lost, I can't remember who we played, but we'd lost, and Millie had an absolute shocker. Millie was a big Catholic and he always used to go to Mass on a Sunday morning. Anyway, after the game, Martin asked Millie, Millie, are you going to church in the morning? And Millie went, yes, Gaffer, why? And he said, well, while you're there, pray for some ability, will you? Honestly, he had the best one-liners ever. He could absolutely ruin you with just, he was so quick-witted, such an intelligent man, fantastic manager. I just wish I'd sort of had longer to work with him, because, you know, what he's achieved as a manager, a fantastic man, Dan, really fantastic man.
Yeah, it is a fantastic watch or listen. That do get it wherever you get your podcasts, or of course on Fox's Hub. He would have been an interesting man to work under, as I think Enzo Maresca probably is as well. He seems very steely, doesn't he? Very, very serious in a good way, and you're seeing the results on the pitch at the moment this season. It's coming through. Yeah,
I think slightly different styles from Martin O'Neill. I think there's a lot more in terms of probably on the training pitch. In terms of everything has to be methodical, everything's assessed, everything's looked through. You've got the ball here, what can you do, what are the options? As I think, obviously Ewan can speak firsthand with Martin. I think it was there was leaders in that team in particular, and it was more the match day stuff and the motivation around it and what made other players tick. As I think with Enzo, it's everything is with the finest tooth comb, going through the detail and how he wants it to be played, set up, and sort of his philosophy, his principles, and goes through everything. And even the Southampton game, it was a brilliant performance on the eye, but I think it lacked Maresco's type of control. It got a little bit end-to-end at times, and I think he felt a lot more comfortable with the Norwich performance, even though the result's fantastic. Yeah. But for his own self, even the Bristol game, I think he would have been more pleased, even though the clean sheet, the control, the dominance, Bristol hardly had the ball in comparison to the Southampton game, where Leicester just tore Southampton apart, but there was less control, even though it was more high octane, more entertainment, more intense, obviously more goals, but it was probably a little bit against his philosophy and beliefs. So I think that's where they differ in terms of managing styles, but I think everything's assessed from start to finish and what moment, what area you're on the pitch, and that high level of detail.
Matt Elliott, speaking of travelling, Leicester have travelled pretty well in recent weeks. You've done a lot of it yourself up and down the country, Matt, for us. On co-commentary duty, you're up at Ewood Park this afternoon. How is it and what are you expecting today?
Yeah, the journey was relatively forward.
Oh, it seems like we've just lost Matt there.
Am I back?
Yeah,
I'm back.
We've got you.
Yep, technical issues already. Not a good start, but yeah,
You're pulling wires out again, Matt.
Yeah, kicked him out, but no, the journey was okay. Yeah, straightforward. It was typical northwesterly weather though. It was dull. It was overcast. It was heavy drizzle that turned into heavy rain. But now we're up here approaching kick-off. It's still cloudy, but the rain has stopped, and perfect football conditions really. Pitch looks pristine, as they all do these days. Pretty much an empty stadium at the moment. A bit of music blasting out is a little bit of a false facade really, if at the moment in terms of atmosphere, but I'm sure it'll get busy enough in due course. Both sides out warming up at the moment. Leicester looking to continue their wonderful league form, and if you look at the form guidelines, it suggests that may well be the case, but we all know it's not as easy as that. But Blackburn capable side themselves though, aren't they? So it's set up well, but Leicester very confident at the moment.
How are we, Matt? We okay?
I'm good, mate. How are you, sir?
Yeah, very good. Sofa for one today.
Is it? You're all on your own, son?
Yeah, on my own, so I've got enough room to fill it.
Well, you normally end up sleeping on the sofa at home.
Yeah,
so
true.
You're used to it, mate. You're used to it.
How do you see the game going today? Will it be more case of a Southampton performance, or more like the one we saw against Norwich, a bit more control in it? Which way do you think it'll go?
Yeah, but I think, like you say, Southampton and last weekend against Bristol City, and I was glad that the view that I gave was backed up by the manager, and it wasn't just me sort of seeing something that wasn't there, but he said about it being Leicester's best, most complete performance of the season, and I agree with that. And on the back of obviously the Southampton and then the Norwich, I feel that Leicester sort of maybe getting into their stride. I don't think the Liverpool game will affect them too much. Few changes and obviously a higher class of opposition, but they get back into the groove today. Although, as I say, I don't think it's going to be straightforward. Blackburn, as Leicester know from as recent as last year, they're a decent outfit on the day, although there's quite a number of changes since that occasion, and lost at home to the King Power. But yeah, I think Leicester are capable. I mean, Blackburn at home, so the onus is on them to be positive, and I think they will be as best they can, perhaps early on, but I think once the game settles down, I think then you'll see Blackburn conceding ground and possession and Leicester take control. Now whether they can turn that into goals is another matter, but as for the general flow of the game, yeah, I think a bright start from the home team, and then it will get into a little bit more of a pattern where Leicester dominate possession.
Just finally, Matt, the one change from the victory over Bristol City a week ago. Callum Doyle, we know with that injury, he's out for a long time, according to Enzo Maresca. Of course, he did give an update during his press conference about him. James Justin comes in, and we expect him to do a brilliant job. Obviously, we know how good of a player he is.
Yeah, exactly, and there lies one of Leicester's big advantages this season, the depth of the squad that we mention quite regularly. You've got an England international coming off the substitutes bench, quite frankly, and then to take his slot in the first team. Not many teams can say that, but a real shame for Callum Doyle. He's probably been as influential as anyone this start to the season. Really slotted in well and gave the team that little bit of balance, didn't it? I'm sure that's been mentioned today already, with his left foot quality, not just his defensive play, but he can pick a pass and he can play from front to back with a bit of class, and he'll be missed. He will be missed, I think, that dimension of his game. But at the same time, Justin's got attributes that Doyle hasn't, so it's pros and cons a little bit.
Yeah, thank you very much, Matt. We'll hear from you, of course, on co-commentary duty in around about 20 minutes or so. We're at half an hour now away from kickoff up in Lancashire. Enzo Maresca confirmed Callum Doyle will be out for between 12 to 16 weeks, so that is obviously a blow. He said that during his press conference in midweek, and he was also asked about Blackburn Rovers, of course, and what kind of threat they'll pose this afternoon.
Every time I watch opponent, to be honest, I always ending thinking that they are a good team and will be a tough game. Blackburn, I think some of the game they have been unlucky because probably they deserve some more points. And they are a good team. On the ball, they move a lot. You can see them that sometimes the winger is like a midfielder. The old midfielder is like a winger. They move a lot. And off the ball, they are very aggressive. They are man-to-man. Until now, they are man-to-man. So we expected that, and we see.
After the defeat to Liverpool on Wednesday, obviously you're straight back into it. We've spoken about fixture scheduling and there's so many games coming up. But is it a good thing to have another game so quickly after a defeat?
I don't know. The only thing I can say is that when you have one entire week to prepare a game, it's always much better because you have more time to prepare different things. But because the schedule is what it is, we adapt and we try to use every day to improve.
And how did Conor Cody come through his first start of the season away at Liverpool, and how careful do you maybe have to be with him when the number of minutes you're able to give him at this point?
No, he did a fantastic game. He did a game exactly in the way we expected because we know him very well. We know what he can give us. And so we are very happy in the way he performed, but in the same time it was first game after probably 2 months or even more. But happy because we have one more player that he can help us.
Hamza Chowdhury signed a new contract this week, a new 4-year deal. He's been at the club for a long time, I think since the age of 7. What was the thinking behind that new deal?
No, I said Rob the other day after the game. He made the same question. He deserves it, first of all, because I'm sure that he's going to help us this season, and also because he's training very well since day one. He's able to do that kind of job that we are looking for, that in this moment Ricardo is doing, like defensively fullback. He's very aggressive, and on the ball, especially against Liverpool, probably was his best game in terms of showing himself, show personality. He wants the ball, he was asking for the ball, and on the ball, I don't remember any mistake from him. So very happy in the way he's growing and he's improving.
That was Enzo Maresca there speaking, of course, to the press in midweek. You can watch that full press conference, of course, on Fox's Hub. That's also where you can find all the details about how to follow today's game. In certain territories, of course, you can watch the game either by getting a game pass or, of course, a season pass as well. Wherever you are in the world, though, you can definitely listen to the game. You can get a listen live pass as well. For any details about what's available to you and how you can get them, just head to lcfc.com/foxeshub. That's where also, of course, you'll find the Match Centre, Ewan Roberts, where you can see the team news, obviously from a Leicester City point of view. Changes made from the Wednesday evening's game with Liverpool. That's to be expected. But do you think Leicester have got enough today? We've been speaking about Blackburn Rovers, haven't we? And we know that they can be quite leaky this season. Leicester have got so many attacking options.
Yeah, and we've spoken about this. I don't know, we're only 4 games away from into the new season, but to stay unbeaten, two clean sheets. Went to Southampton, dominated the game there, comfortable night. Came to Carrow Road, cruised through that, made plenty of changes. Blackburn will be a test. But I look at this Leicester side, Dan, and I think there's 2 sort of sides to it. The side we know full and well that Enzo wants to dominate games, dominate possession, keep the opposition thinking, if you like. But there's another side to this team. I think Marty sort of touched on it earlier at St Mary's, where we sort of sat back and we counter-attacked so quickly. We could have got 2 or 3 goals. I mean, we got the one that Mamadidi scored, created it himself, carried it from his own half, and a fantastic finish. But that wasn't the only opportunity. I think the second goal at Carrow Road came from a counter-attacking move. this team is very, very dangerous when they've got numbers back defensively because they've got such pace in wide areas. You've got two willing midfield runners in Ndidi and Dewsbury Hall. You've got the pace of Jamie Vardy up front, occupying the two centre halves. And when you're away from home, the onus is on the home side. They've got to be more attacking. Unlike when they come to the King Power, I think 9 times out of 10 this season, teams are going to come there and get men behind the ball and be hard to beat, be solid defensively, where Leicester might have to be a bit more patient. But I think when you go on the road, I think it gives you that opportunity to exploit the weaknesses in certain teams. I look at the fullbacks for Blackburn. Both love getting forward, which will leave spaces down both flanks for Leicester today.
Yeah, one thing you can guarantee from a Blackburn Rovers side, in their last 6 games, there's been 32 goals, which is a staggering amount of goals in that amount of games. So there's clearly goals both for and against.
Yeah, I don't think they've kept a clean sheet this season as well. So that's a good sign for obviously Leicester, and with the attacking players that Leicester possess, there's always that chance. I think they are vulnerable defensively, but as an attacking team, some of the goals and some of the combinations that Blackburn are able to produce are at the highest level. They score some really good goals, move it well, little combination plays, and as what proved last season in the Cup here, they're a decent team, but they have got that vulnerable or weakness to them. I think with the players like Dewsbury Hall and Ndidi, they can break through and overpower the midfield areas. Even when you look at the wide players in 1v1s, you fancy Leicester's wide players to beat their opponent. So when the space does open up, can Leicester expose that, get at a defence that are, obviously with the amount of goals that they conceded, are a little bit short of confidence, but they are a threat going forward. They play some good bits of football, move it well and combine. So that is a threat, and they'll want to take the game to Leicester as well. But when it does open up, can Leicester expose those weaknesses that they obviously show?
Yeah, let's hear more about that and more about Blackburn Rovers from Elliot Jackson, who's from Lancashire Live. He tells us what to expect from John Dal Thomason's side.
It's an interesting time because although the points tally doesn't look spectacular, it's been a pretty decent start to the season as far as performances go. There's been a pretty familiar feeling of Rovers playing quite well and not taking their chances. I think there's a general feeling among the fan base that having finished 7th last season and missing out on the playoffs by goal difference, that they've got a decent chance to go again. I think a top 10 finish would be good, but they're playing really well between both 18-yard boxes. The issue has been, as it was at the back end of last season, not turning chances into goals, and without a real recognised proven goal scorer at championship level, and that's been their undoing in recent games. The Sunderland game, the Ipswich game, even the Plymouth game before the international break, they've had buckets of chances at crucial moments in the game, at 0-0, at 1-0, and they've not taken them, and ultimately that's what's cost them in the last few games. So I think any Leicester fans expecting it to be, just looking at the league table, it probably doesn't give a fair summary of how Rovers' season's gone so far. But that said, it should be a very entertaining game with both teams adopting a very attacking philosophy, and I'm expecting goals. They're going to have to be better defensively, undoubtedly. They can't give away the soft goals that they have, and they're going to have to be more clinical in the final third, because against a better defence, those chances are not going to be as free-flowing as they have been in the last few games. That said, I don't think there'll be any fear. I think Rovers showed at the back end of last season that they're capable of beating top teams, and I think between both 18-yard boxes they can certainly give Leicester a game, but the game will be defined by what happens inside the 18-yard box, and ultimately Leicester have been a much better side in those departments this season than Rovers.
Thank you very much to Elliot Jackson there from Lancashire Live. And Ewan, it's very much exactly what we've been saying here in the studio, isn't it? That's been the tail of the tape almost for Blackburn this season.
But, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure I agree with they struggled to score goals, because they've scored a goal in every game. Their weaknesses, as we've spoken about, is defensively. You know, they conceded 3 at Portman Road. You know, how can you go away from home, score 3 and come away empty-handed? They conceded 3 at home to Sunderland. You know, 3 away from home to Plymouth. You know, that's their Achilles heel, and maybe that's because of the way the head coach wants them to play with their full-backs bombing forward. They've got some talent in the team, Dan, that's for sure. I saw Sigurdsson, who's on loan from CSKA Moscow. He plays wide left. He drifts in from that left-hand side. He scored a goal on Wednesday night. Had a couple of other opportunities to Ricardo. He's going to have to be aware of the runs that he makes from that left-hand side. As I said about the young lad Andrew Moran, who they've got on loan from Brighton, he's scored a couple against Cardiff. Really good footballer, as you'd expect, coming from Brighton, comfortable on the ball, gets himself in dangerous areas, although he's playing more of a right winger role, which I don't think probably suits him. I think it suits him better playing in that number 10 role. I mean, as I said to you, they haven't got an out-and-out centre forward, but absolutely, most definitely, their weakness is defence, in the defence.
Yeah, from the game you saw on Tuesday, Ewan, do you think the space is with the gaps that they allow and they struggle against pace defensively in an area where Leicester will look to exploit?
I mean, Cardiff played a back five, Matty. We've got Ollie Tanner down the right-hand side. I mean, there was so much space down the right-hand side. Down both flanks, to be fair. And that's because of Blackburn were at home. They were very, very attacking on the night. Cardiff scored 2 good goals. Could have scored. I mean, that game could have been 6-6. Honestly, there were so many chances. It was a shocking night. Storm Magnus had arrived, blowing a gale, tipping it down with rain. But the quality of football going forward, attacking-wise, by the two teams were very, very good. But as the scoreline suggests, 7 goals defensively, not great. And Cardiff, I mean, I think they made 11 changes to the side that won at the weekend in the Championship. So it wasn't a strong Cardiff side, to be fair, but they could have had more than the 2 goals that they scored.
Let's get a quick recap then of today's teams. We're just under 20 minutes now away from kickoff up at Ewood Park. Enzo Maresca has made 1 change to the side that beat Bristol City a week ago. That's still 10 changes from midweek against Liverpool. That 1 change, though, to the team in the league last time out was James Justin in for the injured Callum Doyle. They've got Hermanson in goal, Justin, Vestergaard, Fass and Ricardo across the back 4, and Ndidi, Dewsbury Hall and Winks in midfield with Mabadidi and Fatawu either side of Jamie Vardy. Blackburn also make 1 change from the side that last took the field in a league game. That was the defeat that Ewan's just referenced at Ipswich a week ago. They've got pairs in goal, Pickering, Hyam, Carter and Brittain across the back 4. Wharton and Travis in midfield with Sigurdsson, Smodics, Moran in behind Markande. That 1 change, of course, that we've referenced from a Leicester City point of view is Callum Doyle out. We know he's out for between 12 and 16 weeks. He's replaced, though, by James Justin, not a bad player to bring into the starting 11. And he caught up with our commentator about an hour ago up at Ewood Park.
James, it's been a quick turnaround from Wednesday night. How have preparations been ahead of today's game?
Yeah, I think we've prepared in the best way that we can. I mean, there's a lot of games and we know how thick and fast it can be, but we're looking forward to the game and yeah, we're well prepared.
Blackburn, the opposition, what are you? What the coaching team talked about, what you're expecting from them today?
They're a team that moves a lot in possession and they have a lot of combinations and they're a real attacking threat. I mean, it'll be tough to keep them out of our net, but we'll do our best.
Really unfortunate that Callum Doyle has suffered the injury, as you'll know from your previous experience, but it does open an opportunity for you to show what you the manager, what you're about.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's part and parcel. That's why we have a squads. Obviously, I'm gutted for him. I've been through similar circumstances, and hopefully he can get back to his best.
That was James Justin there speaking to today's commentator, John Dunn. Nice of JJ there, obviously, to do a bit of a nod towards Callum Doyle. He's had some serious injuries himself. Justin, he'll know what Callum's going through. But we asked Matt Elliott this. We know he's got unbelievable quality, James Justin, and we'll do a fantastic job.
Yeah, he's got different attributes to Callum Doyle. and he's been there as well. There was times where he was flying last season, then gets his own injury, and the sympathy towards that. You don't want to see one of your teammates obviously be on the sidelines for a while, but then at the same time he's got to grasp that opportunity when he comes in and show what he's capable of. But so far the games we've seen him in, so far he's sort of been held back a little bit. We haven't seen him as going forward as much as previous. I think there's the more control as
because of the style of play.
Because of the style with the 3 at the back and the 2 pivots. So then you've got 5 back, and then with the 5 attacking. Well, the 6 if you include the goalkeeper, but 5 at the back, 5 going forward. So it's a bit more disciplined as what we've been seen to in the past of James Justin bombing forward. And I think it's a case of when he can pick them opportunities to go for, he can still do that, as we've seen Callum Doyle. But again, one person's injury, another person's opportunity. That's the way it works, and that's why it's a squad game. But he'll feel for obviously Callum with obviously what he's been through himself.
Yeah, obviously we've spoken a lot about Blackburn, we've spoken a lot about Leicester, the fact that there probably will be goals given the amount of goals that are involved in both of these teams' games. We're all setting it up, it'll be, probably watch it be a goalless 0-0, but hopefully not anyway. What's the key? Do you think Leicester quietening the crowd down early on, or just their own natural game will play that and they'll expect to see most of the ball, you'd think?
I would think at the beginning of the game it will be frantic. I think it will be a high-tempo game from both sides, especially Blackburn. I think Blackburn will come. They will. I've got a feeling that they'll press. They'll try and put Leicester under pressure in and around Hermanson's penalty box. I mean, it might be the first 10, 15, 20 minutes where Leicester might sort of go away from what Enzo wants and might go from back to front quicker on a few occasions because of the high press from Blackburn. But once the game settles down, I expect Leicester to dominate possession as they have done in the majority of the games this season and try to create history, becoming the first team to win 8 of their first 9 games in the Championship, with Ipswich drawing yesterday, of course.
Yep, if Leicester City do that, of course, they go top of the Championship by 2 points. They'll also go 4 points clear of third place Preston, who of course they play on Wednesday evening. Let's hope that we'll be talking about a Leicester City victory in just over 90 minutes time. It is indeed though time to hand over to our commentary team up at Ewood Park. It's Matt Elliott and John Dunn. Here's a little reminder though, if you are at home, how you can follow the game today. Either you can watch it or you can listen to it. Here are all the details.
If you are watching on lcfc.com, just sit back and relax. If you are watching on social media, the live stream will finish shortly. If you want to continue enjoying our coverage, you'll need to head over to lcfc.com/Foxes Hub and purchase one of our game passes. If you are watching in a territory where the game isn't live on TV, you'll be able to watch a live video stream on Foxes Hub. Please visit lcfc.com/territories to check. If you can't find your location, live audio commentary is still available. You'll need to have an lcfc.com account before you purchase your Game Pass. If you already have one, please sign in and select your product at lcfc.com/Foxes Hub. Select the Buy button and you'll be taken to the payment page. Once you've followed the simple payment steps, press Continue at the bottom of the screen and you'll be taken to the Foxes Hub homepage. If you purchased a video pass, please select Watch Live from the Foxes Hub drop-down menu. If you purchased a Listen Live pass, please select Listen Live. If you purchased a seasonal or monthly video pass and the game is not being shown in your territory, please select Listen Live. If you are having a payment or technical issue, please email Leicester TV Support at streamamg.com.